To those of you listening to us on radio, you're welcome. And to those of you who are watching us on TV, on the Joy News channel, on Multi TV, you're welcome. We're getting to know a bit more about you.
Israel, what would you like me to say?
Why be the chief executive of the Chamber of Mines, which is not exactly a profit-making organization?
Well, the Chamber of Mines is an industry-based association, just like you have Ghana National, GNCCI, you know, the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Ghana Journalists Association, the Bankers Association. That is what it's like. So it's an association of all those who work in the mines, either directly as mining companies or as people who serve in the supply chain, providing services, whether drilling or selling tires or vehicles and so on. So that's what it is. And so the Secretariat is what I run. And the Secretariat exists to actually support what the industry wants. Every industry needs an image. So what we do is to try and build the image and protect it also. I keep saying that everybody loves to hate mining, you know, because mining leaves a hole in the ground. But there is nothing that we do that does not have a metal or a mineral associated with it. Look around you. Everything has a metal. And even if there's no metal, you say, oh, wood. Somebody has to cut the wood. Even before it grows, somebody has to plant it. Whole cutlass, you know. We need cutlery. We need computers. All the machines here have metals and minerals involved.
Exactly.
So mining is important, even though people love to hate it. And mining will leave a hole in the ground. But you have to do it responsibly. So what we try to do is to get all of us in the chamber to have a code of conduct and a code of ethics that recognizes that life is about people, it's about the planet, and it's about profit. People, because you can't do anything without people. The planet, because that is what provides us the resources. And profit, because as the accounts will say, I mean, making profit is not a crime. But how you make it is important. So we spend our time raising the image, protecting the image, getting the members of the association also to behave responsibly towards people, towards the planet, because you don't want to make profit at the expense of the future of the planet or future generations, because they too have to benefit from the natural resources that are there. So this is what we do.
Okay, but some way, somehow, you've become one of the very prominent CEOs or chief executives we have around. How have you managed to do that?
I wonder. Frankly, I have not sought to become important. My motto in life is that whatever I do, I must do with all my heart. I must put everything behind it, and I must seek nothing but excellence. That's how I've behaved throughout my life. And if people have found something good in it, then thank God for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're watching My Business 2010 with Joyce Ayi. We'll get to know what's behind the excellence after this break. Stay tuned. Joyce Ayi, the Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, is on My Business 2010 this morning. You're welcome once again.
Thank you, Israel.
And let's go straight ahead into your presentation. What's it going to be about?
Well, it's going to be about a very long topic, but it's very simple. You know, what I was told to speak about is people management in a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious working environment. A mouthful,
yeah,
but so real. And I was going to do a PowerPoint, but technology failed me, which shows also that in everything you do, it's people and not tools, not equipment, not systems. They are all very good, but people drive what we do. And so you have to take people very seriously and work with them. So you're all starting a corporate world. Even if your world is a corporation of just 3 people, it's still the beginning of a corporate world. And you will always have to work with a mix of people. Diversity is wonderful if you know how to manage it. I know people like to work with the same. It's totally unexciting if you are only dealing with same. You do need to mix with a variety. Some may rub against you the wrong way, but out of that also, as iron sharpens iron, you will find that you're the better off for choosing to work with a mix, a variety of people. People management does not mean people control. Ours is not to control people. Ours is not to, push people. Ours, in leadership especially, is to have the discernment of choosing to be with people who also have good leadership qualities. And the leader learns to harness these resources to great advantage. So you find that as a leader, you gain a lot as the others also gain a lot. So you have to learn to manage. People in the world are placing more emphasis on tools and systems and equipment and so on. Fine, technology is brilliant. But first, it is people who even make technology possible. It is people who drive it to make it work. And it's people who have to repair it when something goes wrong. So people, different people, a mix of people is what we are talking about. And as I said earlier, it is the variety that can actually add a good spice to what you're doing. So why multicultural? Why multi-ethnic? Why multi-religious? Culturally, we are all different. Even in this small room, some of us have passionate things about certain cultural aspects. Some people would be livid if you handed anything to them using your left hand. And I still apologize if I give something to somebody with my left. Most people will say, it doesn't matter, but at least you've shown some respect for whatever sensitivity they have, even if you think it's irrational. You need to be sensitive. And then ethnic stereotyping. We still have it in this country. And when you're working with people, you have to be sensitive that, stereotyping, even if you think it's a joke. When we're in school, in secondary school, we laugh at everything. But sometimes we don't recognize how deeply it hurts some people. I have a habit of, when somebody says, I'm Eve, I say, oh, I Bentole. What does that mean? They don't know, and I don't know. But it's an icebreaker. But you have to do it in such a way that there's no offense. People are like that. And then, religiously, some people too are so passionate that to even contemplate letting them work on a certain day is like bringing the world to an end. You have to be sensitive about this, but you have to let the people also know that, well, in this workplace, if you choose to come here, this is how we intend to work. 24/7 is how we're working, and everybody will take a turn to work on a certain day, even if that day is extremely important to you. And let me throw in a bit of my faith. One time when the Pharisees were so angry with Jesus about choosing to heal on a Sabbath. Jesus said the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. It's very important to recognize that religious as we are, fundamental as we are about our faith, God is a God of variety. And God still works on Sundays. He still works on Saturdays. He still works on Fridays. If he were not working, the whole world will collapse. So we can't know better than God. The thing is to worship God in such a way that you can still do the things you feel strongly about without being entangled by your faith. Even though we don't want to denigrate anybody's faith and we don't want to behave as if it doesn't matter to us at all. That's how managing people is all about. You have to be sensitive. The next thing is that you must have a preferred environment for working. People must choose to work with you. They must want to work with you because you have a working environment that they want. It's very important to create the kind of working environment that makes people feel that coming to work here is going to grow me, is going to build me up, is going to teach me many things. I'm going to feel that I'm significant to what is happening.
Like the cliche enabling environment.
Thank you very much. You know, Ghana has come out with a lot of cliches. I think we should sit down and write a few of these things, you know, and that would be the preferred working environment. I know that when you are running a business and when you're passionate about what you're doing, you expect everybody to think the same way you do. But please, you are the vision bearer. It is your duty to pass on the vision to others. Otherwise, you shouldn't expect them to understand what is inside your head and in your heart. You shouldn't expect them to understand it. So passing it on is very important. That's why you try to build a corporate culture. You have to build a corporate culture. Let me talk about some of the things that are important for a corporate culture. It must make reference to behaviors and practices, this corporate culture, that highlight and reinforce, and let me talk about a few points. 1, respect for others is very important. 2, team spirit. 3, honesty and fairness. 4, equity and access to everything that the company or corporate organization has on offer. 5, open communication. There should be no secrets. You know, some people you're very close to and you share your secrets with, and everybody else is working in the dark, and yet you're expecting results.
And in the same vein, probably formation of cliques.
Exactly, and that's so dangerous because when people begin to form cliques, you, the leader, may be in serious trouble because they'll tell you only what they think you should know. And by the time you realize it, your company is falling apart. And really, you are to blame because you've created the opportunity for such negative
the enabling roots. Environment for cliques.
And then 7, cooperation and understanding. Remember, you're working with people and you want to create a corporate culture that makes people prefer to work with you. Customer service is the 8th point. You know, you're producing something for others and your customers are important. Or you're giving a service and your clients are important. So don't think that they owe you something. You owe them too something. And together, you get what you want. You give them the product, they give you the money you're looking for. And in the same way, in the job place, you want their expertise, their brains, their brawn, and in exchange for that, you have promised them some notes, which we call money. Right. The 9th point is excellence. You know, your corporate culture must incorporate excellence, innovation, and leadership. And let me say that research and development, even if you're a company of one, is very important because you have to move on. You're trying to build something which is sustainable. Research, development is extremely important. And this is where innovation is important. And then excellence. Whatever you do, you must seek to do it with the best idea in mind. The 11th point is recognition of skills and commitment to others. It's not all about you and what you want to do. It's about others too and what they can bring to enable you to achieve what you're looking for. And the last one is sanctions. Nobody is so disciplined and law-abiding that you do not require sanctions. You must have rules and regulations, and you must have sanctions and rewards. But when people breach whatever rules you have set, they must know that the reward is some kind of sanction. Just as if they do the right thing, the reward may be a trip to the moon. You know? So people come first in whatever you're doing. Remember, you are a person, and you are the first in what you're doing. So other people are also important. You know, among the pressures and everything, you may choose to think that, oh, the employees, oh, they will understand. When you're going through a difficult patch, the first people you talk about it with is the people who work with you, not work for you, work with you. And you share it with them, you're open, and if you have built a corporate culture that has elicited loyalty, they will more than understand. And some of them will even bring ideas that will make it easy for you to get over the hump. So if we manage the people we work with well, the result is high productivity and a kind of harmony in the workplace that can only bring the best. And let me say that if you take Joy, for example, looks like people who work here love to work for the multimedia group. And I've seen people leaving other places to join it. So it means they must be doing something right. And it's something that we all need to learn. The relationships that you build in the workplace must be professional, without actually, without jeopardizing the quality of the people you're working with. I mean, you shouldn't just see them as tools, but your relationship must be professional. So the emotionalism which will make somebody come and say that my boss did not greet me this morning, so it's the end of the world, it shouldn't happen. Or when you need to evaluate somebody's work, you don't want a situation where the person says, it's because you don't like me. It has nothing to do with it. So if you have established a culture of professionalism, then the person knows that the work ethics in the place require excellence, and that the schedule you have given is what you're going to measure the person by. That becomes professionalism. And try and avoid situations of emotionalism where you create, people always trying to get a tear out of you, or get, the tears flow down and you start feeling so bad because you reprimanded somebody for doing the wrong thing. I think in Ghana, we get a little emotional in the workplace, and we should try and avoid it. Our goals must be clear. When you set clear goals which are achievable, then you can measure. So don't set goals that cannot be reached and then turn around and accuse people of not reaching their goals as part of managing people. Show them the big picture and how they fit in. There is a big picture. The big picture may be 20 years down the line, but show them that picture and make them know that they are part of that big picture. But what they bring to the work is important to achieve the big picture. Involve them or their representatives in the decision-making process. Don't be afraid that because your employees are part of the decision makers, they will run away with what you're doing. Now remember, when you have a vision, nobody can take it away from you. People may steal from it, people may even want to run away with it, but inside you is that vision. It throbs, it's dynamic, it's alive, it's organic. Nobody can take it away from you. And if somebody steals a part of it, it's only a part of it. The rest of it is still with you. So please don't be afraid to share your vision, your mission, and get people to make inputs into it. It only strengthens what you have. It doesn't take away from it. As I said, if somebody walks away with part of it, it's only part. The rest of it is still with you, and you can start off again. So when you make them a part of the decision-making process, don't do it as a mere hoax, but do it for real. So input some of what they've brought on into what you're doing. Create a work climate where people feel valued. They want to wake up in the morning eager to come to work. And unwilling to go back home because there's something that keeps them. Although you shouldn't keep them 24 hours because they'll be too tired. Recognize and reward, formally as well as informally, achievements. Formally, you have to have a system where maybe mid-year or at the end of the year there's a bonus here, or there's a little gift for somebody who's done well. You know, you have to think of all this together so that people know that if they've done well. Formally, you may decide that if somebody works with me for 5 years, I give the person an extra month's salary, something like that. Or maybe buy a golden watch. You have to come to the chamber for that. Buy a golden watch at the end of 20 years service, something like that. So there must be recognition and reward for achievement. Is very important. You may think that, oh, I'm starting, and think about all these things and plan with them as you go along. I was talking to, please tell me your name, the lady in fashion. Mary Theresa. Mary Theresa was saying, you know, she trains people and they walk away. That's part of life. But after a while, you know, you can even have an alumni of people you have trained, you know, and some of them would come back. So they decide that if they go and they want to come back, and you know that they have something to give, don't be so afraid to take them back. So people have different backgrounds. Remember, come from different ethnic backgrounds, they come from different cultural backgrounds, and they may have different upbringing, different faiths, different traditions. But let me do some kind of algebra. Is it algebra? Is it the algebra that we draw?
No.
The one that we use, signs and so on.
Or you could call it calculus.
Oh, don't make my life difficult. You know, when I was in Legon, I got offers for 2 honors programs, sociology and English. And then they told me statistics, calculus, and so I said, not for me. So I didn't do sociology. It turns out that it wasn't like that at all. I could have done it. But it doesn't matter. I love what I have become with what I studied. Effective people management, that is EPM equals improved performance, IP. So EPM equals IP. Effective people management equals improved performance. And performance equals CC, capacity and commitment. The capacity to perform means having available the competencies. People have to be competent. I mean, don't say that my uncle's son, no competency, and maybe you don't even have a training program. Person is going to give you a lot of problems. Or, oh, my son, oh, my daughter. Good, but give the person some competencies so that the person is an asset and not a liability to what you're doing. So competences, and then resources and opportunities to complete the work. You know, I've lived long enough in this country to know that a lot of public service organizations, including secondary schools, universities, and so on, never, or for a long period, don't even have the right resources to work with. But they get their salaries all right, and some of them, you know, it is so painful for them. Because if you don't have the resources to do the work, in an educational institution, it's a teaching materials, isn't it? So you pay the people who are working there, maybe even a place to sit for lectures is not adequate. Least of all, the books in the library, the computers, the other training materials. If it's chemistry, you need solutions and other things. If it's physics, you need to have a few things. It's not there. Computers, maybe you don't even have them. Yeah. And that is very painful. So make sure that there are resources to work with. If you're running a company, make sure you have the resources that the people you employ will be able to work with. So capacity equals competencies plus resources plus opportunity. So capacity equals C plus R plus O. It's important for us to know that. When you talk of competencies, these are a set of skills, measurable skills. Knowledge, behavior, personal abilities that are critical to performance. And resources, I've talked about it. People must have what to work with. If you go to a hospital, they don't have gauze, they don't have cotton wool, they don't have methylated spirit, and you go there with a wound, how are you supposed to function? Do you get me? And so you can imagine their frustration. Maybe they'll have to tear your own dress and go to the appetizer cellar to get some real kill me quick.
And even the appetizer you need is also a tool.
Exactly. You know, so we do need the resources to work with. And a key management responsibility is to ensure that the employees have a work environment, an enabling environment that will make them do the work, because lack of resources is always a disincentive. And then opportunity. People may have the competencies and resources to do their job, but they may not have the opportunity to perform. Now, if you are a boss who keeps everything to your chest because you think you can do it all, you don't create opportunities for people to even bring some of their own abilities to help you. Commitment is important. Don't work with people who are not committed to what they are doing. They are a liability to you. People must come to your workplace willing and committed to working with you to achieve not only for you, but for themselves. People should be able to say, it was when I was working here or there that I was able to even discover my own special gifts and abilities, and I thank my boss for giving me the opportunity. You should be able to say that. So the level of commitment is important. I don't know. Well, let me conclude before we ask the questions. Number one, have you heard of Lone Ranger? You're too young to have watched these Western movies, but you've heard of Lone Ranger. Have you? Lone Ranger. Somebody who wants to do it alone. So Lone Rangerism is a myth. What we watched in the movies is a myth. No one can do it alone. No one. So don't be a Lone Ranger. Number two, nobody knows it all. You may have triple PhDs in a particular subject. Some child prodigy who has not even yet gone to the university may have knowledge beyond what you have. So don't think that you know it alone. Doesn't matter how intelligent you are, it doesn't matter how charismatic you are, you will need people to carry out your mission and your vision. Number three, no one is perfect, starting with you. No one is perfect. So we need to live with imperfections. However, we build on our strengths and other strengths and work to minimize the weaknesses. That is how you create excellence. You notice strengths and capabilities and you build on them. You notice weaknesses and you do everything to minimize them. So if you're looking for a perfect person, you won't find one. A story is told of somebody who went to church and always said, oh, this church is that. So eventually he built a church for himself alone. He was the pastor, he was the choir, he was everything. It doesn't happen. No one is perfect, please. The fourth one is that we are all different. And in fact, our differences make our strengths. The variety brings strength. It is our differences that create a melting pot of good ideas, good practices, and so on. So don't be terrified by variety. If you look around this room, and I'm looking at Israel, we're all people. He's got eyes, I've got eyes. He's got a nose, so do I. He's got lips, so do I. He's got hair, so do I. But look at us. Look at my red face. Look at his lovely color.
Face.
You know? So when we look at each other, we're different. That is how God wants it. But it is the variety that strengthens us. So there must be a unity in diversity. We work for harmony in the face of all these multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious working place that we have. And this is what then makes us excellent corporations, corporations that are dynamic, corporations that have a heart. You know, it's a heart that pulsates, and you can call organic, and everything organic grows. That's what we want to do. Don't shortchange yourself by deciding that you're only going to work with people who believe in the same thing, who dress the same way, who talk the same way. It is boring. And you have to avoid it like the plague. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the final point was about variety, and variety is the spice of
life, isn't it?
And that variety on TV and radio includes a commercial break. We'll be back after this.
Gift USA, No Tribe, Ernesto Poku, Willie and Mike, Alabaster Box, Soul Winners, DSP Sapon, Cecilia Mafo, Florence Obinim, and Benes Ofe, together with the American gospel legend and renowned minister, CeCe Winans. In a night of special gospel music administration at Adom Praise, November 17, 2010, at the Dome, Accra International Conference Center. Time 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. In attendance will be Reverend Dr. Yao Zwansa, Gabriel Ansa, Eswu Mensa. It will be a night of explosion, breakthrough, and encounter with Jesus. Adom Praise, November 17th, 2010, at the Dome International Conference Center. 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Adom Praise is proudly brought to you by Adom FM and supported by
He commanded, and they were created.
You're watching My Business 2010, or you're listening to us on radio, My Business 2010, with Joyce Ayi. She's the Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Mines. She's giving us a wonderful presentation, all broken down, but we still want to break it down a lot further with some questions, and then she's going to provide the answers for us. We'll start with Mary Theresa Yada. Mary.
All right. Auntie Joyce, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
What I would like to know is, in working closely with your workers and having their welfare at heart, and then seeking their opinions when you're taking decisions and the rest, how do you know your limit? Because it might get to a point where, one, either the workers might start undermining you just because you feel you want to be open in decision taking. Because I'm one such person. I usually design clothes, but sometimes I bring the fabric and show it to my workers. She's going for a dinner. We have to sew this. All of you bring your ideas. You get it. Or sometimes I even leave it to them. I trust your judgment. Just come up with something good for this one. You understand? But I'm just wondering if it doesn't get to a point where they might undermine your authority, or in trying to have their welfare at heart, you might end up being too soft sometimes. So how do you draw the line?
Remember I said you shouldn't be emotional in the workplace. Try and avoid emotionalism and talk of professionalism. Naturally, you're a person and you have feelings towards others. Even having their welfare at heart. You know, in human resource management, there are ways to do this. Everything must be clear-cut. You know, even if you have just one worker, it would be good to have an HR manual, a code of conduct manual. So they come knowing where the limits are and where not to shift. So you don't work day by day based on your emotion, and you wake up on the right side of the bed, and what you want to do is to give them a bonus which will break your bank account, because they're such a nice bunch of people. No, that's not what you do. You have to be professional, which means that even when you have very few people that you're working with, try and work with some HR person. You have friends, they'll tell you, there's the labor law, you can do this, you cannot do that, they ought to do this, they cannot do this. So you study your labor law, you get in touch with HR people, you draw up your little manual, the people there understand that this is so far and no more. We're all working together. If you don't make profit, how do you share? So if, for example, in a particular year, things are tough, or in a particular month, things are tough, what you've decided is their basic salary. That you need to give them. But if you have said that, you know, if we work beyond this, we will all share this, and it's not there, it's not there. Don't break your back to do it. Let the people know. And it is when they know what is happening that they will understand. So the first thing is professionalism. And professionalism comes at a cost. You have to consult other people. You have to put certain things in place. And people who come there know that, look, I'm not there because Mary Theresa likes the look of my eyes. But I'm there because I have a competency that she requires. And I need her competencies too, because when I work with her, I'll gain more knowledge. And then I need the money. So it is a quid pro quo, isn't it? You bring something, I bring something, and we work together. So please avoid emotionalism. And when you say you have the welfare at heart, the welfare of the company must also be inside your heart. It's not just welfare of people at heart at the expense of the company or at the expense of yourself. You must balance.
And you must prepare to deal with this. Having confessed on TV and on radio that you give the job to your girls to just put it together. Some customers, I'm sure, will come to you and say, please, don't give it to your girls.
Exactly. When it comes to mine, make sure you do it.
Anybody else. Let's take Adama.
It's Adama Bukari. I'm happy about the way you ended the session. I know the synergy in diversity leads to creativity, innovation, so many things. Yeah. But there's a problem here, especially when you are working with teams and you want to make use of, certainly there must be diverse people in the team. You, the leader, may appreciate the value of diversity, but the team members may have prejudices about the others, gender, stuff like that. How do you live it? How do you ensure that everybody in the organization appreciates the value of diversity? Thank you.
A team is not a team if it has prejudices and so on. But the value of a team is that in spite of their diversities and so on, they've decided that for specific reasons, they need to work together and bring all their strength together for the synergy. And as the leader, you also have to constantly train people. You constantly train people. When you put people together to work as a team, you also have to get maybe somebody else to come and tell them the true value of a team. You see, because the value of the team is that there will be synergy. Now, all these prejudices, they'll have to lock them somewhere inside their heads or hearts and not bring them out, like a genie who has to come out of Aladdin's lamp. You see? So your attitude is that, yes, they have come from diverse backgrounds. Some of them feel strongly about certain things. But the reason why they are a team is that they have been trained to think together for specific purposes. Nobody is saying that if you have strong prejudices against women, because you're working with them, that's where you bring your prejudices. No. I mean, really, anybody with strong prejudices against anybody is not worth working with, I'm telling you, because they're going to be a liability for you. So build a team Building a team means you recognize their prejudices, you recognize their weaknesses, but you have supported them through training to appreciate that now they're working together for the specific purpose for which you put them together.
And I think it would be a good idea as well to probably put up notices. I mean, when you enter the frontage of or the reception of the company, that probably drop all your prejudices.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, some short statements.
Yes.
Not just dropping your prejudices, because companies would also put their mission statement up.
Yeah.
Same way, you can put some signs all over the offices that people see and they realize that, okay, these are some things we really respect in this organization.
Yes. And actually, you can even use humor to do it. And this is where the internet can be of great value, because sometimes you can find some very humorous but very opposite statements, which then you can put out. It will draw laughter initially, but it will sink, because what is being said is true.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am Kenneth Anyaduvo. Talking about people management. Sometimes you have people who are the very extremes. When it comes to work, they work very hard, highly productive. But when it comes to their emotions, too, highly volatile. So in those cases, how do you draw the balance and how do you cope with such people?
All right. Well, you are very, very generous with your statements. Some people are actually obnoxious.
Oh, my God.
It's not easy to get on with them anywhere. But that is where you learn to manage. You need time. When people have very volatile emotions, you have to try and find out. And this is where, if you're not big enough to have an HR section, you yourself have to know a bit about HR. Maybe to call the person and ask, why do you, just best your top? You can even say that, one day if you don't take care, your head will go off. Because all the emotions rising out of you will cause your head to just get off your neck. Some people may have specific reasons why they are like that, But you have to tell them that, as we grow both in age and in competency and in skills and so on, managing ourselves, our emotions, our passions becomes so important. Because how terrible a testimony when someone says, oh, the person works so hard, but. And the but, brings out certain things that would make you put down your head in shame. So it is your duty actually to help such a person to get over some of these volatile emotional situations.
Anger management.
Exactly. So you have to learn how to deal with these. It's not only anger management, but also the management of extreme
prejudices.
Those kinds of things. And since you are starting, you may not have HR sections, but you have to become competent in a few areas in HR to notice and work out these things. That's why it's called people management. You have to learn to manage. You need a few skills that will be useful. And there are a number of HR companies that are coming out, who will be willing to work with you. They don't charge that much, but for the value that you will get, it will be useful to get involved with such people. Or there is, I think there's an institute of HR practitioners. Find out about them. There's the Ghana Employers Association that's also very much involved in HR, and try and find out about them and so on, and see how you can benefit from services that they run at not so exorbitant a cost. Yes, my gentleman
right,
who
Tony.
makes shoes, Tony, yes.
Horseman.
Horseman shoes. Dr. Aye, everywhere that you've spoken here today, I find them sitting in my workshop. I mean, they are so applicable to me.
Wonderful.
I work with local artisans.
Yeah.
With little,
Yes.
with little education.
Yes.
I brought them from various shops, to put them together. And team building, teamwork is a problem. But I hope with time, you'll get there. Now, one problem I have is anytime they are used to their own designs. So when they produce normally with sandals and slippers, I tell them, oh, now our clients are different. So let's modify it a bit. They will insist. When I tell them no. We now sell to young professional
people, yes.
like the Israelites and co. And
Israel.
and they will tell you, say we now pay the amount. So they withdraw themselves as if
no commitment.
Yeah, it's your idea. Say we now pay a. So how do you let them understand, especially, you know, where we come from, digital education, understand that, you know, we are in this together. That is one issue. And again, my shop in Kumasi, I try to tell them that don't see this business that you are doing it for me. It's for us. You wake up one morning, you were expecting your workers to come to work.
Yeah, sure.
They won't show up. You call them, oh, you call 1 week, you call a year, and all that. When you try to complain, they will tell you, oh, my sister has died. You should feel for us. And I tell them, no, please, just call to tell me that I won't come, or give me a day's notice. So, you know, people with this low education, how do you handle them?
The artisans with little formal education, you know, are a problem, but they have skill. They have skill. And so your duty is to build them up. To build them up. It may not be such a good idea to bring so many skilled people together, because the thing is that they feel so strongly that they're good at what they do. Yes. So the thing is to bring some and raise some from the beginning, who then have learned as they're working with you and will be doing the things according to your mission and vision. So bringing already skilled, you know, people set in their ways together is not very productive. And that's what you need to do. Because some of them will walk away and they will still make money. Yeah. And that's how they feel. They will still make money. And they feel that you shouldn't change them for what they've always known. So balance it with people who are starting. Maybe they've gone through some training, some design training at the Polytechnic. And you test them, you see that they are very creative, but they don't have any practical skills. And that's how you put them together. After a while, those who are too set in their ways to want to change, you can gradually, ease them off the work. But then you would have a workforce that is trained according to the way you want. It takes time. Maybe you've got some production lines and you want to do them immediately, but it comes at a little cost. This thing about a year and you don't think about it is a major problem. Let me tell you my own passionate feeling. In a country that needs to develop so rapidly, it breaks my heart that working days are a year days. In Accra, people go to a year on Tuesday or Thursday. As for Friday in Accra, forget it.
Okay, that's the official funeral day.
It is something that we really need to work on. And I pray that your generation will not succumb to some of these practices that are not helping us. But that amongst yourself, you'll be able to build a culture where you respect the dead and respect the traditions of the dead. But you can, starting with yourselves, create a different culture where you still manage the funerals and so on, not at the expense of productivity. It would be wonderful. But, Tony, you have to mix. You can't have, people who are already made.
Now there's some sort of rivalry.
Yes.
They'll tell you, no, I am better than this guy.
Exactly. And then maybe create lines. Create lines for those who want to do shoes and are willing to move away from their set ways. You create a separate line for them. And those who love to do the sandals because they think the market is there for them, create another line for them. Let them perfect their sandals, create a niche market, and indeed make money if it is true that you must have something that sets you apart from the others. So if you break them and you make special lines for them, in Italy, where shoemaking is even done with small family businesses and so on, you may find that some of them just do buckles. because that's what they specialize in, and others may do the soul or something like that. So in training, try and do that, because if you do that, then you have specializations, and once you bring the things together to work out. Look at me, I have a big mouth for talking about business, and I can't even do it.
Abdallah.
Yes.
Okay, my name is Abdallah, CEO of Third Eye Security Services. Madam, I work in an industry where employee turnover is very high,
yes,
like the security industry, because the pay in that industry is not that much, and you have high employee turnover. In this case, how do you build a loyal employees that will be willing to stay and work with you no matter how much they have been paid? Because we also charge our clients, and out of that, I will pay them, and you have to take over your overheads before they are being paid. But it's an industry where the turnovers are high, and it's a big challenge to us. Thank you.
Abdallah, thank you. I'm glad you raised this thing, because we who are your clients also think that what you charge us and what you pay them is nowhere near what it should be. Many of you don't even pay them their social security. Many of you don't, once you put them in uniform, you're not very sensitive about some things and so on. You must be different. Can you work out your overheads in such a way that you're willing to take a little at a time and build it up, and build a loyal workforce by paying a little more than what is the industry average? And find out from your colleagues. You don't even want them to have, time to go and do serious business. I had a guard who was sick. He had to go to a specific clinic very far away from where he lives. I mean, a sick person suffering from malaria, having to go, and they said either there or nowhere else.
Or you pay for it yourself.
Exactly. Meanwhile, the pay is not much, So things like that, something like that. If you have a clinic which is so far away from where everybody is, why don't you also, now that we have NHIS, make sure all of them have NHIS, and then identify clinics which will accept the card, and create some kind of variety in that area. Some of them complain that even leave is a problem. Some of them complain that when you put them on the relieving duties, you put them where they have to traverse the whole country before they go for their relieving duties. So listen, find out some of these things, and decide that yours is going to be an agency with a difference. Not because you're going to work at a loss, but you're going to take into recognition some of these things and find ways to resolve them without losing, so much. And then make them know that they are important. Because a lot of these people, most of the bosses, you don't even know them. You work through your foremen and other supervisors and so on, who themselves complain a lot. So you know what complaint does? It passes on. It's like yeast. It gets into the dough and spreads everywhere. So begin to list all the things that people are complaining about in your industry. And you begin to make a difference and pass on the difference to the others. This will make you stand out as the security agency of choice for everybody, especially since you do undercover also.
You see, unfortunately, this advice is going out to everybody else.
Yes.
It means you have to act quickly.
You have to act quickly and make a difference. Make a difference. That is what it's all about. When I was growing up, there was a Nigerian woman who lived in our community, Auntie Me, And her shop had everything that, you know, if you were cooking and in the middle of your cooking, your oil went out or your charcoal went out, you could get it.
Oh, you get charcoal?
Even that.
And cooking oil.
Cook everything.
And all the spices.
Spices, pepper, everything. Now, the difference with her was that she put only a little margin on what she was selling. But so many people bought from her that eventually she got, just from the volumes, she got more profit than those who really, you know, want cutthroat prices. So sometimes it's important when you start off to decide that the image that you want to build for your company is so important. You're willing to take a little less in terms of your profit. Don't work to lose. It doesn't make sense. But you can plan so that your first couple of years, you'll be willing with a little. But as you build that corporate brand, people will come to you and the sheer volumes will make a difference. Yes.
And you know, that also works for the word of mouth mileage.
Yes.
Because if people know that you have, you know, good prices in your store, they keep on telling everybody else. And so everybody would want to come to your place, and that way you also get to improve. But the advice about the NHIS thing, I think it should go for all of you as well. Because
make sure your workers have
you may just come in, you could decide to just come in to pay that, and it's a token fee apparently to register them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could decide to register your employees, and they'll feel so good that, you know, somehow my employer is taking care of, you know. And it doesn't have to do with the big corporates who say, okay, we're taking you to this big hospital where you have to foot such a huge bill. But that token goes a long way.
Yeah.
Okay. Gloria.
I wanted to ask, sorry, Gloria Bachman-Yankson, Planet Ghana. I tend to go for people who are just like me. I don't like to go for people who are different, because I find that people who are just like me and think the same way as I do are easier to work with. Is that necessarily a bad thing?
Yes.
And also...
and I'll tell you why.
And also, I wanted to ask you, it's so easy to say when, you know, you've got a really effective employee who's also in other ways a bit lazy in that, okay, they're really, really good when they're there, but they're hardly ever there. It's so easy to say, just get rid of them, because it's not that easy to find the quality that you're looking for also. How do you deal with these people?
First, you have to get rid of the word easy. The word easy doesn't help. Because everything easy is not only boring, but does not have sustainability in terms of going forward. When things are easy, everybody can do it. What you want to do is to actually create a brand, to let people know that in the midst of difficulties, something good can come. Now, the reason why I'm saying don't take only those who think like you. You are limited even in your thoughts. You know? So if everybody thinks like you, you're locked into that same way. No challenges. You remember I said iron sharpens iron. Just imagine, go to the workshop of, what do you call?
Tony.
Yes. Oh. Not even Tony, but those who work with these metals. You see the sparks that come out. Just coming together, sparks, you know. But out of the sparks, both metals get what they're looking for. So I think you have a little apprehension about working with people who would challenge the way you think and challenge the way you do things, who will even dare to say, madam, I think if we did it this way, it would be better. I'd like to advise you to get over it. It's not easy, but get over it. Get over it and really challenge yourself. And this, I'm not saying go and, you know, if you're oil, what do you want to do with water? That's not what I'm saying. But there are different kinds of oils, aren't there? So you could work within your own niche, but attract differences of people's character and opinions and so on, so that you build up. You know, you don't want to get yourself locked into what you know. As a human being, you are limited. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are. You're limited because somebody else has something else that you don't have. And these are the people you should look for so that they will add on as you also add on to them. It's very important. So you will have to work on that, Gloria. Work on that. It will take a little time. No, you are not going to try. You're going to do it. If I'm your mentor, then you are going to do it. And if we need to work together on it, so be it. But you have to get over it. You have to sit down and look into yourself. What is it that brings on that apprehension? Is it a fear of failure? Is it the fear of criticism?
It's not even necessarily that.
Yeah.
It's that I tend to go for people who are from the same kind of cultural background that I've been trained, because I like them to think a certain way. I like them to appreciate the tiny details. I like them to see outside the box. I like them to see what the normal, not to
but
say
think
that
of the many people who were not trained like you, who would need what you have. Why keep them out? When in sharing with them what you have, you'll be creating a better nation. So that's how you should see it. I'm not saying go and bring to your workplace the people who are so different from you that it will be a problem. But make it a point to draw in people who are different, because what you have to pass on is so important for the well-being of the people and of the nation that you just can't work with only people who are like you. You should see me in my situation. I mean, it's hard work, but you have to work at it, and eventually you will find that, you know, the whole atmosphere of where you work is so vibrant that you will enjoy it.
Thank you very much, Joyce.
We're out of time.
We're out of time, actually. The Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Mines. We never get to ask all our questions on set, but we can get to do a lot more
You mean they want to corner me when I leave here?
Yeah, exactly. And we tend to do that all the time. But thank you very much for making time with us. This is the very last class that we're having for My Business 2010. But it's not over. From here, we're going to have the graduation class. I'm sure you're all aware. Okay, where we're going to have them set up exhibitions.
Wonderful.
So all the things that you've learned over in the past 10 lectures that we've had, you just have to put it all together so that you create something. You show us what you've learned and what you've come up with. And that is also just the beginning. Because after that, we're doing, in fact, the graduation class, we're saying it's the Making It Happen event. So it is from there that you launch yourselves out there together with your mentors to make it happen, all that you've learned, so that you can become the billionaires club that you call yourself, you know. So, and
it's happening live and colored.
It is happening. It is happening. So thank you very much. And to those of you who are listening to us and watching us on TV, you can join us for the Making It Happen event on Monday at the Coconut Grove Hotel. For now, though, I'll say thank you for joining us and thank you for making time with us for the past 10 days. My name is Israel Lai. Bye-bye.